afternoon, everyone. I hope you're doing well today. My name is Antonetta Mosley, and I am the CEO and principal leader at I Follow the Leader. We are a leadership consulting firm that specializes in diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI, strategy, initiatives, and education. We've been having conversations with I Follow the Leaders so that we can discuss DEI, have conversations with guests about their personal experiences, and really have some courageous conversations. Why do we say courageous in quotes? Well, we believe at I Follow the Leader that these are conversations that we should be having every day. And so our goal is that in 5 years, these conversations will no longer be courageous. They will be commonplace in the workplace. We will be able to talk about DEI, racial equity, cultural competency, systemic racism, and have these conversations in the workplace. They will be a part of our strategic conversations. Today, it is just me, so we will keep this brief, but I thought it was so important to come on and talk about evidence-based DEI. So for those of you who know what evidence-based practices are, a lot of times this is talked about in the medical field, but I really want to start talking about evidence-based DEI. I think it's so important that we have evidence for the decisions we're making. And what's interesting is DEI is often something that's pulled on and off the shelf, or if there's a plan, it's a static document. At I Follow the Leader, we really ensure that plans are measurable, sustainable, and actionable plans that people can use. And so if you watched me before, you know one of my favorite quotes is by Peter Drucker: "What gets measured gets managed." Well, today I want to talk about, before you even get to the measurement, how do you establish that DEI strategy and plan? Well, at I Follow the Leader, we have a PACE progress framework, and we believe to get to your DEI strategy or plan, you first need evidence. You have to back up what you're doing. You have to have a reason why you're doing it, and you need to know why you're doing it. So I am going to quickly screen share so that you can see the PACE progress framework while I talk about it. And you are welcome to go to ifollowtheleader.com/framework, and you can see this as well and learn more about it. And so the 4 phrases of the framework are: you're going to prepare, assess, commit, and execute. And so in the preparation phase, you're welcome to learn more, but what we really focus on is leadership, affirming that DEI is a priority. You're challenging some of those past beliefs and assumptions and acknowledging that it's going to be an ongoing journey. Well, in challenging those past beliefs and assumptions, one of the things that you're going to have to challenge, that your company, organization, government entity, university is going to need to challenge, is that DEI is a heart issue. We're really going to have to shift our thinking to DEI as a strategic issue. And when we have strategic issues, when we know that it affects the bottom line, if people come to our organization, if people stay at our organization, turnover rates, how successful we are, how innovative we are, how much profit we make it a strategic issue. And with strategic issues, along comes evidence and measurement. And so when I talk to people in the marketing field, I never hear someone say, let's develop a marketing plan and let's not look at any of our numbers on what's going well. And so we have to think of DEI the same way as we think of marketing or fundraising, we have to look at the numbers. We have to see where we were to see where we can go in the future. And so this is a step. The second phase, the assessment or cultural audit phase, is where we really see companies missing this step. And so they may be well-intentioned. Leadership may have affirmed that DEI is now a strategic priority, and they've acknowledged that it's an ongoing process. But then the next step is to create the strategy or plan. We do not believe that you can have the most successful plan without talking to your employees. So important to get that stakeholder feedback, because there's a lot that you can do that's going to be based off of DEI best practices in the field. But your organization, your employees at this current life cycle is unique. And so even if I took some company data from your company from 10 or even 5 years ago, you have different employees. You have a different culture, a different environment, even if you have the same mission. So important that we do not skip this evidence-based phase or the cultural audit phase, which is really digging deep into where your company is today in this moment, so that you ensure that your strategy is based on that evidence. And so what could that evidence look like? It can look like surveying key stakeholders, specifically about DEI, belonging, and harassment. So important that this is anonymous and people can share freely. So we recommend that an outside firm does this cultural audit. You want to listen to key stakeholders' feedback about DEI and belonging through a multitude of conversations. That may look like one-on-one interviews with leadership and other key stakeholders, focus groups with certain demographics of employees, and also having strategy sessions around specific issues. And so important not to skip the evidence part. We've done many cultural audits for different types of organizations, from major corporations to smaller nonprofits. And what we have seen is that the leadership always learned something that was unexpected. And so if we skip this step, we are going to be missing key information from our stakeholders. It also gives stakeholders the opportunity to participate, to have buy-in before a plan is developed. And then that last part of the cultural audit phase is to review policies, procedures, and communications related to DEI. So this may be your hiring policies, your onboarding document, your job page. So important that you are reviewing where your company is today before establishing where you go tomorrow. And I can say that this is one of the questions I get asked most frequently is, why can't we just start establishing a plan? Do we have to do the cultural audit before we establish a plan? And that I Follow the Leader, that answer is yes. We have seen that the companies that are most successful in actually implementing their plan, carrying it out, measuring the plan, are those who have evidence around why the plan is necessary, why employees need it. And we also rate companies. So we have our employee survey, and then each company receives ratings based on each question. So they can know, is this a strength of ours? Is this an area of opportunity for us, or is this a threat? And so really important to know where your company is, so that before you establish a plan, you have that evidence and your plan is based on the most important priorities. And so I wanted to review this. You are welcome to review steps 3 and 4 of the PACE Progress Framework. We also have a download. But if you're ready to have evidence to know where you are, I also want to recommend that you go ahead and take our DEI quiz. And so if you go to ifollowtheleader.com/DEI quiz, we've developed a quiz, and you will need to know certain things about your organization, such as if you've had a plan in the past, if it's been measured. And so this is really for your leaders or your human resource leads who would have access to that information. But I recommend you to find out where you are today. So find out what level of the DEI PACE progress scale your company is on so you can know what we recommend next for you. I hope that that's given you a little more information about why we believe at I Follow the Leader that you have to have an evidence-based DEI plan. So important to know what stakeholders are feeling. Do they feel they belong at your organization? What would they recommend? What is most important to them? Are there certain demographics, certain demographic groups such as women or minorities or those with a disability who feel differently than maybe the majority of your organization, so that you can ensure your plan is to help close some of those barriers, and also so that you are also doing activities that your employees think will help move the needle. If you have any questions about our framework or why we believe evidence-based DEI is important, feel free to reach out to us at info@ifollowtheleader.com. And I just want to follow up finish up by talking about where evidence-based practices started. And that was really in healthcare. And so we know a lot about evidence-based healthcare systems and why it's important. And so I want to read this. Someone said, evidence-based practice is important because it aims to provide the most effective care that's available with the aim of improving patient outcomes. Patients expect to receive the most effective care based on the best available evidence. And I love that. If we think about that related to diversity, equity, and inclusion, we want to ensure we provide the most effective care that's available with the aim of improving your company's culture, with improving your company's diversity, with improving your company's equity, with improving your company's inclusion and belonging. And your employees want to receive the best care for you based on the best available evidence. We want your company to move forward based on the evidence and based on the information that is out there. And so to do that, you cannot skip the cultural audit phase and think that you will have the best available evidence. So important to talk to your employees, to hear from them, to have an outside firm come in and get this information from you through those one-on-one interviews, focus groups, and through a DEI employee survey. A lot of companies are starting to add on 1 to 2 questions to their overall employee survey. And honestly, that's probably not going to get the information you need. When you're starting out on this DEI journey, or if you're ready to enhance your DEI journey so that you have an evidence-based system and practice, so important to first see where you are, establish that baseline for DEI at your organization so that then you can move forward. And also, so you know if you're improving. So there's no way to know if you're improving if we don't know where you are today. So it's okay if you don't have this information in the past. The best thing you can do for yourself and your company today is to conduct a cultural audit, have an outside firm help you with this if you do not have a DEI lead or a DEI team to actually implement all of this information. I want to leave you with the quote that I posted on Monday. I heard this weekend and knew it was perfect for this theme of evidence-based DEI. And it is, all change must be preceded by recognition. All change must be preceded by recognition. And Robert Madu said that. And why do I think this is so important? Well, we cannot effectively and successfully change and enhance our DEI initiatives if we don't first see who we are today. We have to look in the mirror, and we can't assume what our employees think, how our leaders feel, or what is most important without first collecting evidence to move forward. I really appreciate your time today. I hope if you were on the side of non-evidence-based DEI that I've given you some things to think about today. And if you have never thought about evidence-based DEI, I hope this has given you something to think about and some food for thought. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our firm at info@ifollowtheleader.com. And you can go to ifollowtheleader.com to view our framework, the quiz I told you about, and just to see some more resources. We really are about helping you move forward in a sustainable, actionable way. And to do that, you first need the evidence. Thank you so much. It was great talking to you all today, and we will see you again soon for conversations with I Follow